All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're unpacking a really fascinating psychological mystery, focusing on the psychology of people who just don't post their photos online. We live in a world that constantly, almost obsessively rewards attention, right? I mean, everyone seems to be broadcasting their every single move, whether it's their perfectly plated avocado toast or, their 15th vacation selfie of the week. But amidst all that endless digital noise, there's a specific group of people who are practically invisible. And as we're going to see, their absence isn't an accident. It is a highly deliberate choice, and it gives us a brilliant, behind-the-scenes look into human nature.
So why do some people choose to be completely invisible online? Think about that person you know who never posts selfies, skips the birthday photo dumps, and completely ignores the daily life updates. You probably have someone in mind right this second. It's so easy to just write them off and think, well, they're just out of touch. We assume they're hiding from the world, or maybe they literally just don't know how to use the latest Instagram filters. But psychology tells a totally different story. This behavior isn't random. It actually reveals a deeply intentional mindset, and it tells us a massive amount about their confidence, their emotional intelligence, and exactly how they navigate modern life.
Section 1. Privacy over popularity. Okay, we need to completely reframe how we view this, starting with a psychological concept known as a high privacy orientation. Basically, on one side of the digital divide, we have our current norm, which is seeking validation through likes, comments, and views. But on the flip side, we have the non-poster. This is someone who relies heavily on self-validation and fiercely protects their mental space. And to be clear, they aren't being antisocial. They're just exercising absolute control over what others see and think about them. Think about it in real life. If they land a huge promotion at work, they might just grab a quiet celebratory dinner with their partner instead of hammering out a 5-paragraph essay about it on LinkedIn. They simply don't need to announce their life to the entire world to feel good about it. And honestly, that is a subtle but incredibly powerful sign of inner security.
Section 2. The emotionally secure mind.
This brings us to the emotional foundation of these individuals. It turns out that an empty photo grid is very often linked to a highly secure self-esteem. It's anchored by what psychologists call self-concept clarity. Basically, this just means having a strong, distinct sense of your own identity, your values, and your goals, without needing external approval to validate them. You can think of high self-concept clarity like a ship with a massive, deeply set anchor. While everyone else is getting tossed around by the unpredictable waves of digital trends and that constant pressure to go viral, the non-poster remains completely steady. Because they possess this inner clarity, they're way less likely to chase trends or compare themselves to strangers. Their happiness doesn't depend on an audience's reaction. It's generated entirely from within.
Psychologists note that because these individuals already feel emotionally complete, they naturally exhibit certain traits instead of trying to manufacture an image for the internet. They're genuinely less anxious, less approval-seeking, and strictly focused on real-world goals. Let's look at how this actually plays out. What does it look like to be goal-focused without constantly broadcasting it? Well, while someone else might post endless updates about their marathon training just to rack up cheers and comments, this person is just quietly logging miles in the dark at 5 a.m. They possess a type of confidence that literally doesn't need attention to survive. They know their worth, so they don't need to post a perfectly angled selfie to prove it to you.
Section 3. Deep thinkers, not show-offs.
When we decode the cognitive traits of people who stay quiet online, we find that they are fundamentally introspective deep thinkers. This operates on a cognitive trait known as an internal locus of evaluation. Now, this simply means judging yourself entirely by your own internal standards, rather than the opinions, the metrics, or the expectations of everybody else. In practical terms, it means they do not get a dopamine hit from a like or a share. No, their brain is wired to only reward them when they meet their own rigorous personal standards. Because they operate this way, they think really carefully before they speak. They prefer authentic, in-depth conversations over superficial interactions. The shallow metrics of the internet just don't interest them. They choose to speak or post only when something genuinely matters.
Section 4. Escaping the digital illusion.
Now, let's explore how non-posters interact with the broader digital landscape. See, they understand the digital illusion better than almost anyone else. Specifically, they recognize the absolute trap of social comparison theory. This is that exhausting, endless cycle where people are constantly measuring their own raw, messy, real lives against the carefully curated, perfectly lit highlight reels of everyone else. And the psychological toll of that highlight reel is heavy. It is strongly linked to skyrocketing rates of anxiety, burnout, and depression. Well, the non-posters know exactly how this game works, and they know the house always wins. So by purposefully staying low-key, they're actively protecting their mental health from this endless comparison cycle. They just flat out refuse to play a game that inherently distorts reality.
Choosing peace over performance. This simple yet incredibly profound idea is the ultimate takeaway for why some people completely opt out of the social media game altogether. I mean, think for a second about how utterly exhausting it is to constantly perform your life for an audience. Every single time you post, it's a mini performance, right? You're adjusting the lighting, crafting a witty caption, managing all the replies. These individuals have looked at that entire dynamic and consciously decided that their own inner peace is infinitely more valuable than putting on a digital show. They're choosing the quiet joy of actually living a moment over the stress of proving to everybody else that they lived it.
Section 5. Redefining real confidence.
As we wrap up this explainer, we really need to throw out our old biases and completely redefine what true confidence looks like in the digital age. For so long, the baseline assumption has been that if you aren't posting, well, you must be shy, antisocial, or hiding from the world. But the reality, which is heavily backed by psychological research, is the exact opposite. People who refrain from posting are very often incredibly grounded, emotionally intelligent, and deeply self-aware. So next time you notice someone consistently absent from your feed, remember this contrast. They aren't hiding at all. They just possess a deeply rooted emotional intelligence that most people online are desperately searching for.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to reflect on when it comes to your own digital habits. Do you need to be seen to feel seen? The people we've studied today have proven that you absolutely don't. They've shown us that true self-worth comes from an internal standard, not a public broadcast. It's a powerful reminder that in a world constantly begging for your attention, sometimes the most confident thing you can possibly do is absolutely nothing at all.